Fairy Tales from the Fairy Trail, miles 164.3 to 274.6. There is something you should know about the Mountains of Smoke. It is a land that exists on the border of two countries, and so it is a land in between. This time it was a land in between winter and spring, as half of the mountain range was dusted with ice and snow, and the other half was blooming into sun and wind. As I walked into this land with the other nameless travelers, I once again met Old Man Winter. He apologized because he was not able to walk with me, because a mischievous Puck had convinced some snow and ice spirits to dance willy-nilly across the mountains outside of their season and time. I accepted his apology and asked if there was anything I could do for him. He asked me to deliver a message to the Fairy Queen, explaining the confusing season and a promise to deal with it. I agreed, and we went on our way. At first we did not see the effects of the rogue fairies outside of some bitterly cold nights. But we bundled together in the shelters and let good cheer and dry blankets warm us. But on the third day, the trail became completely covered in ice and the way was treacherous. It was even worse the morning of the fourth day, as the snow and mist obscured the path and any alternate trail. We stumbled and crawled until we came to a place the spirits had yet to touch, and it was there we met the Fairy Queen. She stood taller than any man and was dressed in the rain-soaked moss of the stones and trees. Her skin was the color of the mountain's foundation, and her eyes the bark of the pines. Her hair was like the smoke from which the mountains gained their name, and was adorned with the crown of pines and laurel. Her wings were of gossamer ice and light, and they shone like the ice-tipped trees in the morning. She watched us with concern as the fairies and pixies of the moss, mist, and light danced around her. I gave her Old Man Winter's message, and she gave us her blessing. And while that protected us from the more dangerous creatures of her realm, it did not protect us from the elements. The rain froze to the rocks and roots, making them like glass. The mist obscured every path and view, confusing the senses. The nights were cold, the days were wet, and there were many moments where I prayed for safety from the Lord of the Mountain. But in the end, we were safe. Old Man Winter caught the rogue fairies, and on the fifth day we walked out amidst the beginnings of spring. So I decided to detour a ways to the watchman's tower on the mountain's precipice. He greeted me with a smile and asked me about my journey. I told him my tales, and he seemed pleased with them. Then he said, "You have come a long way, and 1/10 of your journey is done. However, you still have a long ways to go. Are you prepared for the miles and creatures you will meet?" I thought for a moment and said, "No, but I am ready to learn." The watchman nodded and said, "And that is enough." It took us 2 days to reach the next human settlement after leaving the Mountains of Smoke, but spring was blooming and the butterflies were leading us on, and with every new view and sight, I could not help but agree with the watchman. It is enough. I stepped onto the fairy trail and stepped into a fairy tale, and though my name was lost to me, I found my path clear and free. So now there is nothing left to do but walk a mile in another's shoes, and hope to find what was lost to me, the Mountain Lord my way to keep, until I find my way back home, where I might live true and known, forevermore, forevermore.